manager so we could get something done. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Spencer?
I'm Ken Spencer. For those that don't know me, I've been a member here for over 20 years now. And the last meeting I attended had to be the annual meeting. And I was very upset at the annual meeting because I've been in 7 corporate and public boards in my life, my business life, and you don't break your oath of office. And that's what happened at the annual meeting. We had 2 directors that refused to show up, so we didn't have a quorum, and everybody in the theater had to go home without having an annual meeting. Thank you.
Dan Laws?
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of the Kenny County Frontier Christmas Committee. To give you a little bit of history, I'm not sure if everybody knows the history of Kenny County Frontier Christmas, but Ron Seward, when he was manager here, Tim Ward, Henry Garcia, Robbie Westbrook, who was the superintendent of the school district, and myself, the 5 of us got together and said, let's start doing something in this committee in this community that's not controversial, but pulls the whole community together. And we all agreed that Christmas is something we can all agree on, so we chose Christmas as that activity. And for the last 3 years, we've had a number of activities, and so far the programs have been pretty successful. We're hoping this year that we'll have a better turnout than we've had in the past. But it's the trouble in this community, or one of the problems we have in this community, is there's just not enough money to go around. There's not enough leadership to go around, unfortunately. And so those 5 organizations came together, and we funded a lot of stuff that happened in the beginning and had fundraisers and that sort of stuff. The fort supported, the city supported, the county supported. Well, now, of course, Ron Seward's gone. Jody took his place. And although Jody didn't participate all the time, she did assist. She did provide us support. Henry's not the city manager anymore. Tim's not the county judge anymore, and we have a new school superintendent. School superintendent's involved. So far, the fort's not involved and the city's not involved, and we want to get you guys in. So one of my requests is that you guys choose somebody on the staff or on the board that will come to the meetings and provide support. Someone who has the authority to make a decision about whether you can have a float in the parade, for example, or whether you can spend $200 on something that we split up, among the 5 groups. We've got 3 events.
When do you meet, please? When do you meet?
Right away.
Well, at night or in the daytime?
The
Or?
meetings are during the day, usually on Monday and usually at 2 p.m. And my comment about Jody was not to disparage Jody. She just had her plate full, but she did support us. So I'd like to get somebody that can make those meetings and be a part of those meetings if you guys are willing to do so. Because we try to make the thing involve everybody. We try to make sure it involves the city, it involves the fort, and it involves the county, the total community. So one of the things that we need from you guys, and you guys will need to talk about, we like to start the parade here on the fort. We start it down at the pool. We line everybody up there, then we come up, go up Colony Row, turn around, come back down Fort Clark Road, out into Bracketville then, and cut over to Gove and down Spring Street to 5 Points, because that's where the big thing's going to be going on that night, is at 5 Point. We'll have a lot of vendors in. We've already been contacted by a number of vendors. We expect that everything will have a pretty full house. It was a little cold last year, you may remember, so some vendors kind of bailed on us, but still we had a pretty good success. And the idea behind having that arrangement at 5 Point is to support those businesses along Spring Street right there, so that they open their stores. People are there. A lot of people from out of town are there. They go in and shop in those small stores, and it boosts their business. Neil and Barbara, of course, at her restaurant, or their restaurant, they get a pretty good shot also, because people get hungry and they don't want necessarily the food from the vendors, so they go in the restaurant and have a sit-down meal. Anyway, we need you guys to support us. We need you guys to help us.
Could you give us the dates again?
I would give you the dates if I remembered them. Let's see, November 29th, I believe is the first one, right? November 29th will be the downtown lighting. Rio Grande has worked together with everybody. All the businesses down there have lights on their buildings. We go down there with radio controlled boxes and plug their lights into our radio controlled boxes. And from in front of the co-op office, we turn the lights on and off by radio signal so that all the lights come on at the same time. They all go off at the same time, so we control them until after Christmas is over. The next one is December 4th? 6th, I'm sorry, December 6th, Saturday. That's going to be the light parade, and we've purposely determined that we want to have it at night, and we want to make it pretty festive. We want people to use a lot of lights and really light things up. I've told our people at Rio Grande, if you can't see it from outer space, then it's not good enough. You have to do more. And our guys have come through. Anyway, so that'll be on that night, December 6th. I'm sorry, I keep stumbling over my words. December 6th, and we'll have the vendors downtown. That goes on till, depending on the weather, goes on till 10, 11 o'clock, however long the vendors want to stay. The vendors will set up shortly after noon. Is that right, Jan? Jan's on the committee, so she remembers all these things better than I do. And then the last one is Rio Grande's event. It happens at Rio Grande's Yard. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been there, but it'll be on December 18th, I think. I'm not doing too bad. December 18th, and we'll have a sing-along there. We'll have singers coming in from San Antonio, my son, and some of the people that he works with at a church there in San Antonio, and they'll come in. And it's a fun time. We roast hot dogs for everybody that comes, and so there's hot dogs and hot chocolate and all that kind of stuff, and that's an expense that the cooperative bears. Each one of the entities, the county, the city, the fort, all of us throw in money to assist and keep this thing going, but we also have had fundraisers, and I'm happy to tell you we've got about $2,300 in the bank this year. We've been operating at a deficit, but we're actually on the good side of things right now. So we just encourage you guys to nominate somebody, name somebody to serve on that committee, and that they be faithful, especially here as we get into the latter weeks before these things start up, that they be faithful to attend. Because in these committee meetings, we're trying to develop resources, and we need somebody that has the authority that can say, okay, this is something that the board can do, or this is something the city can do. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'll get out of your hair.
I interrupted you with all of mine.
No, that's good.
I think the board supports you. I mean, I do anyway, and we'll have to, I don't know that we can make a decision today on this, but by next month, we can come up with something and.
Can you give us kind of a list of what kind of stuff you're looking for?
Yeah, actually,
Well,
I'll
I
tell you
think,
a couple of things.
Because you know what you need to fill the voids with and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, those things that you would like us to help you with.
Yeah, and I can give you a couple of those things, but some of them don't get decided till we get into those meetings, and I won't know what those are.
Right, I think the board needs to pick somebody to be a point deal for the fort like he was asking for, and then they can confer that back and forth and bring it back to us. I think that would be.
Yeah, I understand.
We can do that in the next couple of days by email.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Don.
Allison Watkinson?
I have three things. First of all, I'd like to commend the Historical Restoration and Repair Committee for including 2 members at large. So my commendations to that committee. One question, with the bare bones budget, I'm assuming that the changes are not happening between the Matt Mendelson Center and the Adult Center and the new gym. Is that a correct assumption?
It'll be open, is that what you're asking?
Yes. I'd like to make sure that the Matt Mendelson Center will be available for aerobics and line dancing when the Winter Texans return, without any questions.
We've all agreed on
Awesome, thank you. One more question. If changes to the election bylaws is approved by the board prior to November meeting, does this mean a mailing will be required to be sent out about those changes? And if changes are made after the November board meeting, what are the implications for notifying the membership? And then I'm done.
Right, we need to do it before November if we can, yeah.
We're gonna put pressure on our attorney to get that.
Our current
back to us.
bylaws do require that any change in matter or number of things, the membership must be notified by the November meeting. But I think November 30th, I don't have the date in front of me. So that's a requirement of bylaws that must be fulfilled. And to be quite frank, without having those new bylaws back here by now, I don't think you're gonna get all this stuff implemented before the next election.
John Rozetsky?
Surprise! First off, a compliment to some people who may definitely think things went awry. A lot of good people have taken the positions up here trying to manage the unmanageable. We were set up with an antiquated system that made accounting impossible. A new accounting system is up and running. I believe that is that not the case, and it is what is used by accounting firms across the board. So now the board can get a real-time, day-to-day accounting of where your profits and losses are. That's a positive move forward that has not existed. Amen. A lot of people, anyone who else takes that job or wants to be a director, they have my prayers for trying to take a job, because the first thing you do is inherit everyone else's mistakes. So don't go right out to stab them in the back because they're still trying to absorb that. That's what I'd like to try it. I will play devil's advocate for anybody. True, there were mistakes made in the past and a lot of positives happened. I got here 5 years ago. There was no Christmas parade. The first year, we had a beautiful snow on Christmas Eve. It was almost magical, and changes started happening. And this fort is coming back together to the grandeur that it should be. That involves giving some patience, because these new systems versus how it's been done 30 years ago ain't gonna happen. I looked at found Grandma's last file cabinet, her charter member dated 1988. Brought a tear to my eyes with all of the compliments and everything that was done since that time to here. And I can look at exactly how much my family's invested in this area. We all have a vested interest in it. We want our grandkids to come here and visit. Let's give them something better to look forward to and stop nagging each other over things that happened 15 years ago. Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Dan Sullivan?
Good morning. I would like to bring up something from the past, from 2006. There was a resolution passed back then that granted unprecedented authority and powers to the position of the Director of Operation. A few limitations were put in there, but basically what that board did was just shirk their duty that our declarations and bylaws call for, which charge the board with running and controlling the affairs of the association. It does allow them to delegate authority to others, but that doesn't mean just almost blanket authority to one other person, which destroys the whole concept of the construction of this association, which makes it responsible, the administrative powers responsible to the membership. It takes that away. And at this time, I think we have an opportunity, great opportunity, because we have no individual in that position as Director of Operations. And so it takes the personality thing out of it. And I would ask the board to look at that resolution in 2006 and rescind it and return the control and authority to that position as it was prior to that resolution by our original documents. And so that's what I wanted to speak to, and I would ask you to give that some real serious thought and consideration. It's a good time to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of our member discussion.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am?
It concerns the recycling. I know they need a compactor desperately. And we're giving away our money because we don't have one. And now Judy was saying that at the last shipment, they received like $400. Where does that money go? Back into the general fund?
Yeah, I guess it does.
I mean, I know they have to pay electricity and whatever other expenses they have. Can we start a fund with the money that comes back, less those expenses, toward one?
You're preaching to the choir here, but we have to have 4 other approvals on this. Yeah, I think they've needed a
You know,
bailer
like
since the
start a
front.
little chart down there and say, we're this far and this far, and
I agree.
It's something that could be looked at, yeah. 'Cause
I agreed
you
that she
know,
needed a bailer ever since they started that.
There are some times when we send out a load and don't make any money on it.
well, I realize that.
And in fact, it costs us.
But if you had
costs
the
us money.
cardboard,
No, I understand what you're saying, yes, I know, but the point being is that, yeah, we have to have maybe, if you will, a fund where the money is put into, that is
towards it.
a profit of whatever we get, if you will. The expenses are, I presume, at the moment that the Fort pays electric, well, that's the only one we got is electric. And, you know, and the rest of the stuff that's done down there is done by volunteers. So, you know, yeah, it's something we can look at to see if we can tighten up the ship, if you will. And find out how in the past it was handled and see if we can make it better in the future. I agree.
It falls to what Mr. Baker said, we need a real manager. On our executive,
You can't afford one.
well, we can't afford not to have one either, it looks like. On our executive session stuff, why are we discussing the, did you request to have, did you request that the agreement between community council and the fort be done in private?
No?
Do you-
I'd just like the board to discuss it so we can
Right.
move forward with Fort Marquez.
Do we need to discuss that in private? I
It kind
mean,
of needs a contract, if you will, partnership, so it's got to be something that we make sure that we both have in writing what we're doing, I would say.
We can review it when we get back.
Yeah, we can bring it out and come back, but I think we need to discuss it so we know what we're doing.
and the job description for the DM, we have to do in private, we can't do in public?
Oh, that was, the personnel thing was more salary issue.
Right, that needs to be.
That's not,
And we have a job description that we need to discuss.
Director of Operations job wasn't even involved in this. I was confused. Do you want to do that now? We were going, are we going to extend this till tomorrow? Just go until 6 o'clock?
No.
I think it can be done quickly. But if you want to just read what we're at,
Well, no, the job, I mean, we're gonna agree on a job description for the DO, right?
But it's just started, we haven't, I mean, you can read the list if you want, that's not a problem. We've gone up with a list so far, and maybe there's members want to have it, but it should be right here.
I think when it's finalized, it's appropriate to read it.
Okay, well, we were looking, I'll read this, what we've come up with so far, the job posting for the Fort Clark Springs Director of Operations.
This hasn't been approved.
Hasn't been approved, but it's what we're looking at.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, I don't understand why we're discussing it in private instead of public. I mean, it's a,
Because we probably don't want to keep these people here forever. But you can read this, there's nothing wrong with reading that list. It's just
right, what we've come up so far is the previous financial, business, and/or administrative experience, combination of education and experience necessary to lead a multifaceted organization, proven ability to get along with board members, membership, subordinates, and the public, planning, budgeting, and organizational skills, oral and written communication skills, and grant writing a plus. What do we have for a time frame on putting out a job announcement?
That's what we need to do is finalize this.
Finalize it and then discuss it.
Why can't it be done right here? What, I don't understand why that's a,
What would you like to do, Roby, please?
whatever we're gonna discuss, I don't see that it's a top
I
secret.
understand, but what do you want to do now?
Discuss that here before we go to executive session.
Go ahead. You,
Discuss away.
we don't have any problem with it. We
Well,
just-
when are we, what are we gonna do to, when are we gonna put a job announcement out?
Well,
Where are
first
we
of all,
gonna
we
do it?
have to decide where we're gonna, we
Where?
need a list of where we're gonna put that job announcement. We've got some ideas. There's some internet sites like monster.com and, was that
We put it on lunch.
what was that other one? Is it?
That one's getting better. The problem with what you're asking is that it's so nebulous. But we can discuss, if you want, discuss away. But you have to start the discussion, you're president. You
Well,
can't ask us to do it for you. I'm sorry.
When are we gonna post a job application? The 15th of next month? Let's have a deadline. When do we have to?
What's the date? I think the
What
first,
do you suggest?
I think by the first is fine.
By
First of
October 1st?
October. Sure.
That makes sense, yes.
And then what type of media do we wanna, how much is it gonna cost to put it online? for
That's
somewhere
what
like
we
that?
have to, that's what we are still looking into. We don't have those figures yet because we haven't decided. We've got a couple of internet sites, newspapers,
What newspapers do we think it'd be best at, like the San Antonio?
well, I think the Express News, Del Rio Herald, both copies, or both editions, and the Katy County Post. Possibly, I think we should put it in, I don't even know if Uvalde and Eagle Pass have papers, but I think.
Uvalde
we should-
does, so does Eagle Pass.
They should go there, and I mean, I can't even get the San Antonio paper here anymore. Oh, do they have a paper
Yes,
deliverer?
yes,
Oh,
we do.
yay.
Well, what kind of budget do we have here for what kind of budget do we wanna surmise?
You're asking questions
Questions we don't have
that-
answers for.
that you need to be as much of an answer as anything. You are part of us, please.
We have not got, we have just put this together as of 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 2 days, Wednesday. Just
We're
put
putting
this-
it together right now, we're asking for ideas and opinions, that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, and that's
I'd
what we're
say,
saying.
what, $3,000, is that too much, not enough?
I have no, you know what, I can't answer that because it's been years since I've posted anything in the newspaper or online. I don't actually know.
And I don't think that Monique was here when it was done the last time, right? So we don't have experience right now. Monique's doing some research herself as the human resources person. She's been involved in listing, but not this high. The thing is that instead of asking these questions, you need to start making statements. What do you want?
Whatever the board agrees upon, I'm not the dictator here, I mean, I'd say 3Gs is a lot of money to start with, I don't know how far that'll get us, but what kind of budget do we wanna look at?
And where is it coming from? Where are we pulling it from? But you-
5,000, 3,000, what, I mean, how much seems absorbent? At what point in time do you?
Do we have something that, Monique, do we have something that we've used?
Not that I'm aware. I
Not
mean,
this high, I don't.
Not for direct.
We don't really
operations.
have,
I'd say, I don't know,
Many companies would appoint a search committee to
Well-
take care of all that, well, find it, it doesn't mean
Yeah, that's
that
gonna-
folks went beyond that.
This is something we need to do in the next few days, and I think that between our office staff, we can call the papers and check with the websites to see how much they charge. Katie, do you have any idea what it?
I'm not in advertising.
I
Just didn't know
also
if you
forgot
knew.
to mention that, as you well know, our declarations and bylaw say that position serves at the pleasure of the board, which I would think should preclude giving contracts out unless there are very options to cancel those contracts.
it was put in the Lubbock paper, the San Angelo paper, the Midland paper, the Odessa paper, San Antonio and Austin is where, and then I think maybe Houston, I don't know if it ever got to Houston or not.
Okay.
And then they put it on Craigslist, and I think there was one or two other places that they also put it like a job search. But most of it was pretty minimum as far as the cost went. But it did go out to those towns the last time. To the newspapers and to the Craigslist and those towns. So many of the other people now use Craigslist on just about it. And then I don't think it ever got into the Houston paper.
I guess it,
I've also suggested that it be sent out to
Indeed.
university, colleges and universities, because many of those people have already served as managers or administrators, and then come back to get a master's degree. So if it were put there, that would be a good place to find someone with experience and education.
And I think AARP is another good place to put it, because we may get a retired manager who wants less stress.
I have a suggestion, and I don't know, but I know that if, when you go out to places like Houston and Austin and Midland, you're getting people who are used to a much higher income, and to come here might not be as easy a draw for whatever we can afford to pay a manager. I know there are a lot of people out of work, but drawing from our own economy, from like Eagle Pass or Uvalde or Del Rio or wherever, we might get someone that actually has the qualifications and is more in fitting with what budget we have for that person, rather than drawing from the big cities where they're used to larger salaries.
Military, you got a base here, how many people are, upper echelon people are retired, retired military,
Absolutely.
why not?
And then they wouldn't be displaced so far from where they already reside, that might be another consideration.
do you have a time frame you think it would take you to find some of this stuff out?
I can do it this week.
So in the coming week?
By Friday.
So maybe by next Saturday, we could have a list of something, or Friday sometime?
We could probably start even, once we get some idea, yeah. I mean, I don't have
I
an
would-
objection to your $3,000. I don't think it's gonna go that much, but, it gives us something to work under. I think it should be in hundreds and rather thousands of dollars.
Yeah, me
So, I think that should more than cover it. If it doesn't, we can come back if we have to.
We spend a lot trying to get somebody, we're gonna have to spend a lot to keep somebody.
I would think, like Katie said, beating the bushes in Del Rio with the maquiladoras, the people that are running stuff across the river, living on this side and working over there, they've got a lot of managerial skills. I don't know at what rate they're getting paid, but there's a lot of people like that coming at Eagle Pass and Del Rio both, because of working on both sides of the border, the factories over there. And they might be interested in staying on this side. But I don't know what mediums, other than the Del Rio paper, the Uvalde
Well,
paper.
I think I think we should hit all the
There's-
local, and I do think we should hit San Antonio, because they know of the fort in San Antonio, and there may be people just dying to get here.
Plus the
So-
paper goes to the whole area.
Yeah.
And the
No.
Texas Municipal League,
It's all the local cities.
I don't know, because we're not a municipality, if we can advertise on that. But that's the type of people that they, it's a
Advertise on
municipal, Texas Municipal League.
That's a possibility.
There's always administrative people there.
You
And I
might
think-
also see what resources the Chamber of Commerce has to get it out to other chambers.
That would be a good deal there, yeah, the Chamber of Commerce and Del Rio and Brackett both.
Uvalde, do they have a chamber?
Also, I think the Air Force has newsletters that they send out. And that's what we used to use a lot of times.
Well, how about the six of us make a list up and turn it into Monique Monday as, and see what we could, where we want to start putting it.
I've given her all my
Instead of
ideas.
just throwing it out in the air.
She's taking notes.
Write it down and give it to her, then we can go from there. We don't have to figure that out right now here.
Okay, well, we have,
And then the agreement with the community council, do we need to,
well, I think the conversation will go faster if Because I can ask the questions, I just,
I don't think people are interested in sitting through that, but
you don't want
it's up to you. And they're getting up to leave right now.
we can bring it back, the results of it, and.
I don't know that it needs to go into executive session. I can just come up there and discuss it with you all.
Would you like to?
Sure. Unless you guys want to get up and move around.
Yeah, I want a break.
Some of us can't sit through too long.
We're really violating the agenda, you know.
It's 10:30, we're gonna have a break for a few minutes and then reconvene.
Why don't we just go into executive, have a break and go into executive session, do what we have to do in there, and then come back? We have to go into executive session, we have stuff we have to do in executive session.